We've been delayed at Dubai Airport.
Play the theme music. Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan and I'm here with the ever-in-transit Adam.
I don't think an adjective has ever been more appropriate.
This is a very special episode of Tripology. Let's set the scene.
Yeah, I mean, talk about opportunistic. We are in the waiting room of Dubai Airport.
I apologise for the din of audio that's probably around. We're in what can only be described as an airport waiting room. We're on an incredibly long, overhaul flight, delayed. We've not slept at all for the last 30 hours, maybe.
Yeah, we've had a couple of connections getting out of India and trying to make it into Pakistan via Dubai. And our flight's been delayed 5 times, I think, in one day.
That's a record for me.
It must be a record for them, the airline. We won't mention them.
It's just constantly being pushed back. We were supposed to fly at 4 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
Then it became 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
No information being provided. Just go and get a McDonald's. Here's some tokens. Just show them your boarding pass at the restaurant. They'll give you a burger.
Yeah, we thought brilliant. What an amazing thing that is to do for us.
Then delayed until 8 a.m.
Yeah, so this is a flight going from Dubai direct to Islamabad, which I think is about 3 hours. And for it to be delayed repeatedly, because it's not like if it was a delay and it was 12 hours in one stint, at least you can mentally prepare yourself.
Yeah.
But for it to be 2 hours and then another 2 hours and then another 2 hours, and then I think the second to third delay, they told us it was going to be another delay at the time we were due to board. So you can imagine how frustrating that was.
And it ain't a long flight either. We're actually really close. We're within a stone's throw of Islamabad. So It's quite a frustrating thing.
It is. You're quite good, actually, with dealing with bad news.
Yeah? You
at
think
airports.
so?
Yeah. I think you've been quite calm throughout.
Well, I've been doing this spiritual journey and I'm quite zen. I've been adopting the philosophy of Zen.
It's actually after leaving India, and fingers crossed we don't offend any people here, but being in Dubai, especially Dubai Airport, is quite chill by comparison.
What, you think there's a different vibe here?
Yeah. I think that maybe is impacting your zen. Maybe it's having a positive effect on how you're feeling. You're quite chill. There's no chaos.
Do you find it relaxing that I'm chill, or do you find it a little bit frustrating? Because do you want me to be a bit more like, yeah, we're all together, F the government, we need to get through this? Or are you finding it a little bit kind of perturbing that I'm sort of in a scarf, wearing glasses, just thinking it'll be fine?
No. I'm notoriously not a great flyer anyway for someone who travels as much as we do. So it's great to have you on the first flight over, because that got a little bit bumpy, didn't it?
A little bit turbulent. That was some of the most fun I've ever had in the flight. I was sat with you. It was all nice, wasn't it? We watched Being John Malkovich.
Or 90% of it.
90% of it didn't quite get to the end. That frustrating sort of, we were kind of trying to do little movie maths, weren't we? We were like, is there enough time to watch this film to the end? Yeah. Turns out not quite enough, but good film, wasn't it?
Really
Being
good
John
film.
Malkovich, yeah.
If you've not seen it, Alan highly recommends it, and it was a great little watch. We were watching it on 2 televisions side by side, and you were DJing.
I just think, yeah, exactly. I was trying to pause and start the movie at exactly the right point so we could watch it together.
I would look over to Alan and say, "Sorry, mate, I need to go to the toilet again. Can you just DJ for a bit so that you nail it, and then we can start the movie again at the same time?"
Because I don't know if you've had this. I don't know how often you've tried to watch a movie with a friend on a plane, right?
Never. That was the first time.
Really? Okay. Well, it's really, really jarring if they're like a few frames ahead.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
When Cameron Diaz turns to camera and then you just see her turn to camera again, it's like a few inches to the left of you.
Yeah, that'd be really annoying, because how do you stop yourself from watching their screen?
Yeah, you end up like in any suspenseful moment just peering over to the left.
Yeah. What softened the blow of not reaching the end of the film was the fact that we were drunk.
Interesting, yeah, because a guy came over with the tray.
Yeah,
and
he worked for the airline.
We were both a little bit tired. We knew there was more of an onwards journey. I could sort of feel a little vibe between us. We were like, this is nice, watching a little movie.
Yeah, because you actually, just so the listener knows, just to get you up to speed, you haven't had a drink since your birthday, which was on the 1st of June, which is quite a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. I've been sober throughout my 30s.
Yeah, so I thought, as the trolley comes around, I quite fancy a drink. I don't know how much we're going to be drinking in Pakistan. I wonder if I can...
Probably not very much.
Yeah, I wonder if I can twist Alan's arm for a little drinky poo.
I took the words out of your mouth.
You did. I was just about to say that as well.
Yeah, took it out again.
That's
I've
crazy.
constantly been reaching into your gob and removing words.
But we couldn't have guessed, talking about taking the words out of people's mouth, we couldn't have guessed what the air host would have said when he asked us what he wanted to drink. And I looked across at you and I made it abundantly clear that I was ordering for both of us.
Yeah, because I let you do the ordering.
Yeah.
We say this on Tripology all the time. Tripology's resident foodie. I don't like to order food when you're around.
And I said, we'll have 2 whiskies. And he said, each. And raised his eyebrows.
What an amazing answer to the question, to the order, essentially. We'd like 2 whiskies, please.
Yeah.
Each. And he said it in such a way that we knew he was very happy to oblige.
Yeah, it was wicked.
And that's how we ended up with no less than 4 whiskies between us.
Yeah, he was just eyeballing a double, which turned out to be, I think, closer to a triple.
Yeah.
A little bit of ice
He was
in
free
there.
pouring it. He poured it as if a Moroccan pouring a coffee. He sort of flared the bottle upwards. It was splashing everywhere. It was an amazing sight.
It was like the manager of the flight had said to him, you have to get rid of that entire bottle of whiskey before you get to row 14.
Otherwise there'll be trouble.
Yeah.
Because you're not landing in Dubai with that bottle of whiskey, all right?
So that was great, wasn't it? I
enjoyed
felt
it.
quite relaxed after that because it had been a little bit bumpy. But then when we got here...
Trouble started almost immediately upon landing in Dubai, I felt.
Yeah, it was, again, lovely airport. Didn't really know what to expect. I'm not sure I've been here. I might have been to one Middle Eastern airport in my time, I think.
Yeah, well, they have a stereotype, don't they? We should mention, because people sort of hail the Middle Eastern airports and sort of the surrounding cities as being sort of a place where people go to play. You know, people with money go to spend a little bit of cash. I mean, even when we arrived here and told the person that our flight was much later, she was like, go, drink, smoke, have a good time in the airport.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, quite evident early on that there are lots of people here flying as well who have a lot of money.
Yeah.
There are a lot of brands, a lot of designer, a lot of things, a lot of, people wearing very expensive clothes and jewelry. So, yeah, we haven't really been used to that, I wouldn't have said. But again, very pleasant airport to be in. If you are going to get stranded for 24 hours, maybe let this be it.
Do you think?
Well, I'd prefer Changi in Singapore.
Yeah, is that your favourite airport of all time?
I think so, for what an airport can be. I mean, send us an email if you've been to a better one, but Changi Airport in Singapore, that's tripologypodcast@gmail.com, is my vote.
Yeah, I like you. When you're really tired and sleep deprived, you're very bureaucratic. You're like, really, you've promised not to offend anyone and you've shouted out the email less than 10 minutes into the episode of Tripology. It's nice to observe.
Well, as a travel podcast, I think we like to be sometimes informative, and I do think that the facilities at Changi are, I mean, they're just incredible.
Yeah.
But we're not at Changi, we're at Dubai.
Yeah, we are at Dubai.
So let's talk about that. So what I was going to talk about, Alan, was basically how calm you've been, and you asked me whether I found it frustrating. I only found it frustrating because I think you are not willing to admit that the airline is at fault and should be dealing with the problem differently.
I am willing to admit that. I just think there's nothing that we can do about it.
Also true.
There's no point in getting stressed about it.
Also true.
The only people that know how to fly the plane and can get us out of this situation are the people who we're at war with in terms of delays.
Yeah, and we actually just saw them as well by the desk that we are trying to get a refund from, and they look quite dejected as it is.
My opinion isn't that, the airline's just doing their best. My opinion is that we live in a binary world where we found ourselves in a reality where we cannot get on a plane. We can choose to sit back and enjoy our time, which I've done. I've had a great time here at Dubai Airport. Yeah. I've been watching YouTube videos.
Yeah? What have you been watching?
I've been watching a lot of conspiracy theory stuff, a lot of stuff about recent political events.
Brilliant, just as we were about to get on a flight to Pakistan.
I've been researching where we're going to Islamabad. I've been downloading apps so that I can prepare when we land. I've been doing a lot of stuff for Tripology. I've really just embraced life in the airport.
Yeah.
That's one binary world where it's possible for people to access. Another is doing what I've seen some people doing, sort of tearing their hair out, fighting with other passengers, laying down in despair. I mean, there's been a lot of... You can't let it get to you like that.
No, I mean, as we speak, we probably should address the baby in the background. It's not for effect, but there is also a gaggle of people over in the corner having an argument with people from the airline that we've just tried to get a refund from. So it genuinely is kicking off.
It's remarkable to watch because people, when presented with adversity, they really behave in one of only a few different ways.
Yeah.
So I think that if everyone just embraced the chill, the world would be a better place. In fact, I don't even think the plane would probably just go. If everyone's like, is everyone all right with the fact that there's a slight technical issue? We all okay? We just go anyway then, okay?
Yeah. I was texting my dad earlier and told him that we were delayed at Dubai, and he said it's quite ironic that you are, because of the last week's episode where I talked about a company's obligations to communicate to its customers why there have been delays. And we haven't received any communication whatsoever. We really feel like we've been left in the dark. So
yeah, like I said, the only thing they said to us was, go and get yourself a McDonald's and calm down. They sort of like dangled the carrot of a burger on the end of a stick. Yeah. Go on, guys, just have a burger and everything will be fine. Meanwhile, we waited for 8 hours plus.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about McDonald's a little bit, because
I'd love to.
Because it wasn't enough for you, was it? The Mackie the free Mackie D's.
What, in terms of quantity?
No. I mean, you outright refused to receive that as compensation.
That's right. Well, I think I've had my last McDonald's in life.
Yeah.
When I was about 16.
The reason why I want to talk about it now is because some people like to have a McDonald's in every country they go to, just to see the nuances, just to experience the difference. You know, when you go to Japan, there might be a slightly different burger that's got, I don't know, Wagyu and some soy sauce or something.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They do that. They taste the menu from every McDonald's.
And you also know about the Big Mac Index, right? That's basically how you can judge the sort of purchasing power or whatever, how expensive things are in a country.
How expensive is a Big Mac?
Is a Big Mac because it's a standard item. So I do know it features in lots of people's travel plans and experiences of a place. Are you not you're not into that? You don't think that's funny? Because
I don't give a crap.
No. I mean, it's a pretty.
The thing is nonsense. It's just such a like arbitrarily yellow beaming Ronald McDonald plastic company.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we don't get a message from McDonald's next week saying we'd love to sponsor the podcast. But I do think that there's no value in me. There's no value that I can perceive. There's no value in me.
There's loads of value in you, Alan.
There's no value I can perceive in like sampling McDonald's across the world.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the question. Even if you were at your hungriest, you still would rather go hungry than eat a McDonald's.
To an extent. I mean, if I was the choice of not eating anything for days and days,
that's never going to be the case. But yeah, I just wondered whether there's some sort of nostalgia and familiarity attached to McDonald's, I think, when people travel. And they like the fact that it's predictable. You can always guarantee that the fries are going to taste pretty much the same.
Yes.
The burgers are going to taste pretty much the same. We do kind of laugh about travellers that go to places like Thailand and end up eating at Subway and McDonald's. I really don't think those people travel for the same reasons we do. But every now and again, maybe it's nice to go for something that you know and loved when you were a kid, and maybe didn't have a knowledge of processed food. And
there is comfort in that. I mean, I'm drinking a cup of coffee from Pret a Manger right now,
which is the new McDonald's.
Which exactly, we didn't have that up in the north when I were a lad. But
great pronunciation, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. But I mean, it is a Western thing that I'm eating right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dubai Airport feels quite sort of Western.
It's a melting pot.
Yeah, it is a melting pot. Good old mix of people here.
Yeah.
But airports are such wonderful places. I'm so glad we've been able to do an episode here. I always fantasized about working in an airport.
Did you? What would you have done?
Maybe the guy dishing out the perfume.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You lathered yourself in perfume today.
I'm wearing 6 different ones.
Honestly, he's been such a... I mean, I hesitate to use the word whore for the samples here. He's been drinking tequila. He's been spraying perfume all up himself. He's been eating free burgers.
No, I only had the filet of fish without the bun or the cheese.
That was your concession to health.
Yeah. I mean, the McDonald's nearly imploded.
Yeah.
But I do like to smell good on a flight. It's
but you're
important.
wearing about 5 different scents.
Yeah. I've gone overboard.
You smell like a testing strip.
I know, it's weird, right? I do, whenever there are like tasters or freebies or whatever, I like to make the salesperson think that I'm really interested, even though I've worked in sales and I know I can see through the bullshit, obviously.
Notice that. Going down into like the design of the bottle. Oh, it's got wonderful angles, this. And is that a toro on top? Sat atop the lid there. That's really fine. Yeah, she thought she had a sale.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're on commission, are they, those guys?
I mean, they must be a little bit making the dimes.
I can't believe I said perfume ahead of alcohol as well. Surely I'll be the guy pouring the wine or the whiskey or whatever.
Well, I think times are changing, aren't they? You've been doing this for a while now. You're a sophisticated gentleman.
Yeah.
I think that, if anything, we should meditate on that, because the scent, the aroma around me right now is frankly causing my consciousness to leave my body anyway. So let's just meditate on it and see what happens. Bye.
Bye.
And like an olfactory sense bombarded to within an inch of its life, allow your conscious mind to return into your brains as we're here in Dubai Airport. Hell of a long flight that we've been on, isn't it?
I know. And I was just thinking then, just meditating on it, I've just thought of the best job in an airport.
Yeah.
Just seen it go past. Driving the little trolley, isn't it?
Oh,
Isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah, for the people that need assistance.
What, the people who need to get where they're going fast? Is that what that's for? It's people who are like too slow to get to their gate. So you say, hop on my trolley and I'll ride you to freedom.
Or if they can't walk properly.
Oh.
You know, if they're really elderly or whatever. I think that'd be quite a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are when it comes to driving around an airport, but it looks quite fun. You just toot your horn. It's similar to driving on Indian roads, I think. You just toot your horn loud and keep going. And people will move.
Yeah, exactly. There's what's the worst job, do you think? Toilet attendant.
In an airport?
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned the toilets earlier, didn't I? I think this might be the first airport I've ever been to, bar Changi, where every single tap that I've used in a bathroom has worked.
Yeah, you did say that. And at the time I thought, what an unusual thing to say, because normally do you go through a process, how many misses do you get before you get a hit usually? What's the success rate of tap to water?
Well, usually just one. You try to use one, it doesn't work, and then you go to the next one.
And then it works?
Usually.
So you think most airports are operating at a 50% tap success rate?
No, if there are 4 taps, maybe you just pick the one that doesn't work and the other 3 work, I don't know. But here, every single tap, every single time has worked. And talking about bathrooms, I told you that story earlier of that guy that left the bathroom when I went in there. So guys, I was entering a bathroom inside the airport. A guy left the bathroom and walked past me, and I just remember because we almost walked into each other, so I knew what he looked like. And then I went into where the urinals were, went all the way to the end of the urinal row. There were 6 of them in a line. Went to the very end next to the wall, and then the same guy came back in, went down the entire row as well, and came and stood next to the urinal, next to me, and went for a wee in the urinal next to me, even though the other 4 were completely empty.
I think that's quite sweet.
No,
That's
it isn't
nice.
sweet. He's a psychopath.
He was there next to you.
But he didn't even look.
There's a
which is
camaraderie in men urinating together.
But is that a cultural difference, or is he just... Why didn't he look? Like, what's the point?
What, you thought... Initially, you thought he was there to have a peep, and then when he didn't peep, you thought, what is he there for?
Yeah, like, this is weird. Why wouldn't you go to the closest one to the door then?
Maybe, but you don't know. This is the thing about being Zen. You don't know the surrounding context. Maybe he's been going to this airport for years.
Yeah.
And he has an affinity with that specific urinal.
Yeah, but remember, he also just left the toilet. Why didn't he go to the toilet when he was in it?
Maybe he does number 2 in the toilet and then number 1 in the urinal.
And has to walk out and come back in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
he's like, honestly, every time I go to this bathroom, there's always some arbitrary Westerner urinating in my spot, and he's upset about it.
Sure, because that's less weird. Yeah.
Well, it just justifies his actions a little bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Listen, every bathroom I've ever been in an airport, I think I've had 100 success rate with taps in airports. I don't think I've ever gone to an airport and had a tap not work.
However, smaller sample size, we found out on the plane, didn't we, that you have had a fraction of the flights I've probably had. You maybe don't find yourself in airports that often.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're trying to calculate how many flights we've been on. And I said that over the course of my 10 years of travel, I think I've taken less than 20 flights.
Yeah.
Which I think the way I was thinking about it was I always fly into a continent, travel overland for about a year, and then fly out.
Yeah.
So that amounts to kind of less than 20 journeys.
A one in, one out kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you pointed out to me that even to get from like the UK to Belize, I took like 4 flights because I was doing so many layovers.
Yeah.
So it definitely is more than 20, but I think probably like 20 journeys.
Yeah, you do quite well overland.
Yeah.
You really do.
I'm counting this whole thing from Calcutta to Delhi, from Delhi to Dubai, from Dubai to Pakistan. That's one journey.
One plane.
Yeah, well, obviously not one plane. But when you were asking me that question, it got me thinking because I saw a fly enter into the plane.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do you think it ever happens that a fly boards a plane in one city and then disembarks at a completely different city?
I think it must have to have happened.
Yeah.
It must have, because there are lots of flies.
What's it thinking when that happens? Do you reckon it is aware that something's very different?
I've honestly got no idea. I don't know if a plane could. I don't know if a fly could live its entire life in a plane. Maybe
Have generational cycles in there.
because
There could be generations of flies that have all been on the plane.
what are the chances of the fly getting back out once it's in?
I mean, it has to catch 2 lucky breaks.
Yeah.
It has to really succeed to get on the plane, which is a challenge for a fly, I would say, because they fly erratically at the best of times.
Yeah.
Has to go through the only open bit, which is, it has 2 chances. It can go in the suitcase hole or the human hole.
If it goes in the suitcase hole, isn't it dead?
No, not a fly. A human wouldn't survive in the suitcase. I reckon a fly can survive in the suitcase hole.
Really?
I
Isn't it too
reckon.
cold?
Not for a fly.
No?
A fly can survive in the fridge. It just slows down.
That's fair enough. I mean, I think for a fly, probably the most likely if it did get on a plane would be an aller retour. It would be like a return journey, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be great for it, yeah.
Yeah. And then if it got off the plane, none the wiser.
What do you think? Yeah, it's like, oh, that was weird. Do you remember when I went in that box for a few hours and then arrived straight back here? What's the weirdest, what's the most jarring juxtapositional journey it could take?
Like which destination?
Like it's a London fly and then it kind of gets out in Cairo.
Yeah.
What do you think it's, where do you think the fly's like, what had happened?
That'd be pretty different. I mean, maybe the way to attack this is like where in the world has the most different flies.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that's what it
It's a
would
house fly and it gets off, it meets a fruit fly and it thinks, you're an exotic sort of a character, aren't you?
What sort of continent is this?
What do you eat? Apples?
Yeah.
I've only eaten shit.
Apple. No, I've got no idea, but it must have happened. I wonder if a bird's ever got on a plane.
I think birds, classically, go under the radar less than flies. I know that birds and flies both use flying as their primary mode.
Yeah.
But flies do it somewhat more surreptitiously, don't they?
Mm. Yeah, actually, there are maybe some flies that are more intelligent than other flies. And maybe that
marginally.
maybe that plays a role as well.
I don't think there's a great variety of IQ in the fly world.
No. I think as a fly and all the things you can do, I think entering a plane is a pretty poor decision.
If you had to be any animal, right, tasked with boarding a plane, what do you think has the easiest time? Disregarding the insect kingdom, the single-celled amoeba world, I think, like...
Am I trying to buy a ticket online?
Let's go with mammal. No. You're not trying to buy a ticket online. You can board the plane in the same way as the fly.
Without a boarding pass, without a passport.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
What mammal has the best chance, do you think? Is it just the smallest one?
What, to go undetected, though?
Yeah.
Which animal? Well, yeah, maybe a field mouse.
You'd be a field mouse.
If I was to try and get on a passenger plane, not in the hold, without being detected, yeah, wouldn't it have to be the field mouse?
I would be one of those tiny... like finger monkeys, a marmoset.
Oh,
I feel like he has the agility to maybe slip in a bag up in the carry-on.
Yeah.
Whereas a mouse, it's pretty much just scurrying along the floor. Someone's going to notice it. Whereas the marmoset, tiny little finger monkey, I would climb up when people were all distracted with their bags. I'd get in there up in the overhead. Air hostess shuts the... Or air host shuts the door.
Yeah.
I'm good for the rest of the flight, aren't
Just
I?
cruising.
Yeah.
Just cruising.
Absolutely.
Easy. Snacking
Yeah.
on whatever's in said person's bag.
Oh, if there's a packet of crisps in there, I'm laughing. I might stay there for 2 flights.
Aller retour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What about gecko? Surely.
It's also a good bet.
Or did we say no reptiles?
I said mammal.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
well, you're a stickler for the rules.
I'm a stickler for the rules, and no cold-blooded creatures on this flight. No.
As we are on the topic of airports, does the journey for you, if you're getting a flight, start at the airport? Does the adventure, does the holiday begin at the airport? Because for a lot of people, it does.
In the taxi to the airport.
That early?
I'm already excited then.
Because I don't know if we've spoken about this on the podcast. I'd be surprised if we haven't, because it is something that grates on me. I read an article years ago about sort of how many countries people have been to and what they count as having been to a country in terms of an amount of time, a duration. Obviously, layovers, short stays, that kind of stuff. And an amazing 33% of people said that they count countries they've been to, even if they've only been to the airport for a layover.
33% is great, isn't it? Because that means it was exactly a third.
Yeah. Did I explain that well? 33% of people think that just by going into an airport and flying out of the airport, they have been to that country. So we would be able to say now, even though we've stayed within the airport, we haven't left security or anything, that we've now been to Dubai.
I once read an article of like a girl claiming she was the youngest person ever to visit every country.
Wow.
And I subsequently learned that she counted airports.
God.
That's a travesty.
That is.
That's against everything I stand for as a tripologist.
Because her passport would tell a different tale, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah, exactly. She goes into a bar and she's like, like she's at like a tripology convention, and she knows that the number of countries you've been to is what gets people going at these sorts of events.
Yeah,
she'd be talking.
It's a chat-up line, if anything.
It's a huge chat-up line. So she's at the tripology convention and she's talking the big I am about how many countries she's been to, and one shrewd tripologist goes, "Get your passport out there." If she whips that thing out, passport out
for the lads,
and we see how few stamps she's got,
yeah,
there's going to be trouble, isn't there?
Hell to pay.
There's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, I don't know the justification for it. Of course, you haven't been to a country if you haven't left the airport.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't. You actually haven't.
No, you actually haven't.
Any more, really, than you've been to the country by flying over it in a plane.
Yeah.
You've just been in a vessel that's loosely sharing the same airspace.
And I don't know if the reason why I disagree with it so much is because all of the reasons you would go to a country, you don't experience any of those if you don't leave the airport.
No, you have a chance to sample the local McDonald's.
Yeah. So really, like, I think the thing that annoys me the most about that stat is that it's such an enormous number.
Yeah. And the only exception I would make for that is any finger monkeys or marmosets listening. Because for those guys, if you've been to every country in the world and just been to the airport, that's good on you.
Yeah, we'll let them off. A free pass for that one.
That's what I think, yeah. Well, there's a hell of a chain of events that led to us being on this flight to Pakistan, of course, because, Adam, we initially were hell-bent on getting to Bangladesh.
We were. Important to mention.
My plan.
Important to mention.
Very start.
Yeah.
It was going to be Nepal,
Yep.
India, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh.
You mentioned Bangladesh so long ago.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been angling towards it for a long time because we were in East India, weren't we? Was it just yesterday?
Just briefly yesterday, we woke up, we were in Calcutta, we were ready, we were eating a lot of fish, we were ready to tackle the world.
Yeah, basically on the border.
Yep. And then, lo and behold, I had to really take a good long look at myself because I'm someone who I think maybe I don't fear and news and like people saying I don't think you should do this has very, very little effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
We know about us that you're the more anxious of the two tripologists in terms of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I tend to, when I see something go on, I double down.
Right.
And I was presented with quite a vicious news cycle about events in Bangladesh.
Yeah, which are obviously very serious and very sad.
Yes.
I'm sure that people listening to this podcast have heard what's going on there.
But I think it's quite feeble,
right,
and sort of a shame when you read about a country undergoing sometimes to then be like, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to go there then. However, I think there's a point where you have to make sensible decisions and acknowledge that now is actually probably a time where Bangladesh doesn't really want tourists.
No, definitely. Yeah, and that was the discussion we had. It definitely wouldn't have been fun. It would have been very inconvenient, very difficult for us to get around. I've even heard that they've started closing down public transport. The train lines are closed, so we wouldn't have been able to move. Yeah. You've got to think, how much fun are we really going to have? What are we going to experience there? And is it that respectful to go in the first place?
All valid points. So we had a brief discussion about it. I felt like I reneged in good time. I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Bangladesh is not going to be the one. And we were incredibly effective at turnaround organising our visa for Pakistan, weren't we?
Yeah, it's, such a joy to travel with someone like you who's essentially free as a bird. Free as a fly on a plane.
And I remind you of it often. I've not got any obligations, Adam. I don't have anywhere to go. I can go wherever I want. Pakistan. Let's go.
I'm a bona fide backpacker, Adam.
Yeah.
So do you fancy Pakistan?
I'm looking forward to Pakistan a lot. I think if there's two morals from this whole tale of the airport delay and the journey to Pakistan and all that stuff, it's get some sleep before you record a podcast. But it's also, I think, be adaptable, because we were presented with news of Bangladesh having some issues very, very close to when we were supposed to go to Bangladesh. I'd banked
24 hours,
I'd banked on, like, we can get a visa on arrival in Bangladesh, it's not going to be a problem. All that changed. We had to, on a dime, change our plans, organise visas, book onward flights, all that sort of stuff. We did it.
Incredibly quick.
Always remain adaptable, always have flexible plans. And then the second one is, it's just sometimes you've got to surrender, be zen, just let things happen, like this situation in the airport. I think there's nothing we could do, so you just got to let be what will be.
Yeah, I think as well, what I would add to that is apply pressure when you need to.
Exactly.
And you know, let your foot off the gas when you can't do anything. I think getting that balance right makes for an enjoyable time all around.
Exactly, yeah. Gas, no gas, gas, no gas. Apply the brakes, switch, turn left. I think you've got to do all those things when you're traveling. I think exactly in this situation, we just surrendered to the fact the flight was delayed. But when it was time to book a new flight and say this flight's going to be cancelled, we did that very quickly. Exactly. So a couple of little bits of advice and morals, and I can't wait to share our onward journey in Pakistan with the tripological audience.
It's going to be crazy, because we've got some friends in the industry, some contacts, some of you we've spoken to. Thanks ever so much for the recs. And it just seems like such an amazing place that maybe doesn't get the credit it deserves. So we're going to go and discover it for ourselves.
Exactly. And on the next episode of Tripology, I can't wait to tell a story, because we've been talking all about the airport because we're in an airport. But
we are.
Series of events that happened leading up to us getting to this airport are so astonishing. You'll have to wait and see on the next episode of Tripology. There'll be lots of Pakistan content. There'll be lots of tripological content. And after this episode, we have to mention, we do a little show after the show, and it's available exclusively on Patreon. The episodes come out there a whole 24 hours early. And they have some bonus content on the end. So if you enjoy what we're doing here, head over to patreon.com/tripologypodcast. It only costs $1 to get the show 24 hours early with an extra 15 minutes or so on the end.
Yeah, and $2 for video content as well, which is pretty cool. So we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Hey, like a marmoset hiding in a carry-on section of a plane, we wish you all well.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you there.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.